All right, I think we're good. Hold on. Meeting is now streaming on Facebook. Okay, so we're going to talk about Pop's health, financial health. And just to give you a little preface, this is how I started it. Well, first of all, this is Dave and Dave show. I am 43-year-old son, Dave, the visionary.
Is that a 43-year-old virgin like the movie?
I think it was a 40-year-old virgin.
I know.
43.
I
Good.
know.
Although right now you could.
I'm only kidding. Don't go deeper, please.
And then we got the 69-year-old dad.
I'm 68. I'm not 69.
We're gonna do the Dave and Dave until episode 100, and then we're gonna turn into the Dave versus Dave show, episode 101.
I could take that.
Yeah, we'll see. We are here today after a 2-week break. Last week we could not control it. The week before, just a lot of busy stuff going on, but we're gonna finish strong. And
meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I'm sure everyone, as we're doing a Zoom, I'm sure everyone is Zoom weary.
Yeah, but we're gonna talk about. Listen, we're 2 weeks out to the end of the year. This 2020 game, which I'm super grateful for. I know people think it's insane, but I think this is going to be the beginning of big changes in our country, and it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. But we're going to look back and hopefully say this was a year we turned it all around. That being said, one of my favorite things to do in the world is business plan. Actually, plan for everything. And I was thinking of, beginning of the year, everyone was like 2020 vision, right? Remember?
Yeah.
And
that went to hell.
What?
That went to hell.
Well, that's why you got to be prepared, right? Every business plan, every plan, you got to be ready to pivot and the obstacles. The plan is the game, but then you got to be ready to go. So now I'm saying hindsight is 2020. That's my new saying. Hindsight's 2020, right? So you're going to like this. What do you do at the end of the year with your doctor? You go in for a physical, go in for a checkup, right? So what I wrote is, let's put on the gloves, let's get some lube, and let's see what's going on in there, right? So where are you at? Where you want to go? And what do you got to do to get there? So just for I said, let's put on the gloves and get out the lube for our annual Realtor Check-up to see where you are, where you're going, how to get there. So you're either growing or dying. The conversation needs to start with brutal honesty around the financial health of our business pertaining to production, profit, and protection. We'll also touch upon the physical health, mental health, and emotional health and how it ties into your financial health. Now, I know you're not into this a lot because you're kind of a natural and you just kind of go, but I think most people need a path, right?
I agree. And as I get older, I do change my theory and look to a path. So I agree. And you'll laugh at my goal for 2021.
Well, we're going to talk about it. So it's beautiful.
Good.
So here's the thing. I was taught to put this in order. Now, the guy who taught it me, he one of my mentors, he said, he only put it in this order because he liked the way it looked on a T-shirt. But I thought this is the way you do it.
That sounds logical.
First is your physical health, because without your physical health, you're dead. And
I'm there.
You're doing fantastic. So where we're going to look is we're going to break up our goals into 4 areas, and I call it the health of the 4 areas of your life: the physical health, the mental health, your emotional health, relationships, right, and then your financial health. And I believe they cascade into each one.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Well, there's 4.
I know, but I love singing a song.
Yeah, even when it's totally not apropos. Should I just call you Meatloaf from here on out? So here we are. So listen, we talk about this. We do a weekly class. We go over this, the mindset and the goals and whatnot. But the first conversation you have to have as you're preparing for 2021 is an honest assessment of where you are right now. And when I say honest assessment, like, it's easy when it comes to physical health, it's easy because the blood test doesn't lie. The scale doesn't lie, right?
No.
The other thing that doesn't lie is your 1099 realtors. That doesn't lie. That's because we love the awards and we love, listen, anyone could be on the front of a magazine if you pay enough, you get an award,
Yeah,
whatever.
you could be on the front top realtor and do two transactions a year.
Right?
I love it.
Even the top 50 list, you could do a lot of business, but what are you really taking home? Right?
Yeah. Or you could be top and have 15 other agents working under you, and now you're top because their production is yours. So there's a lot of reality to what we're talking about.
The 1099, even the 1099 can lie because how much money did you spend
Yeah.
in order to make that money? Right?
Right.
So the realist conversation is, what are you netting? What are you literally taking home before taxes? Right? So, people get wacky about those two things. You ask them what the scale really says versus, and then what they really made. A lot of people don't tell the truth.
Well, a
Just like,
lot of them put 15 million in production, not saying that they're not getting a certain amount of money, and then they're giving the rest of the money to their broker, and then they're paying for online leads. And when you come down to that, your point is so valid because you may be making $60,000 because all that glitters is not gold.
now, not here to judge, and you don't have to, scream from the mountaintops what you're making. But if you're going to have an honest conversation with the most important person you have to have the conversation with, which is yourself, be honest, right? So you got to know where you're at. So the conversation we have, and we're doing these assessments with all of our agents right now, I know a lot of you are watching, the conversation needs to be around, where am I truthfully, right? So quickly, the scale and the blood test and physical, that tells the truth, right? Mentally is tough, very tough to measure, but are you waking up excited? Are you waking up happy? Do you have a healthy outlook on life? Are you looking at things realistically with the glass half full, right? The mental game right now is a tough game with what's going on in the pandemic, elections, politics, you name it. A lot of change. So that's super important. Your mental game, your mindset is going to really, really impact how the success of your finances of being a realtor. Because you could have all the tools in place. If you're not mentally right, if your mindset is shit, it's going to sabotage and undermine you. So super important on that. And then relationships, like, they're important as well. If I'm not getting along with my father, Urban Nest is going to suffer.
Yes. And we're going to suffer.
Right? If I'm not getting along with my wife, I'm not as likely to have a great day of work. Right? I'm not bringing my best self. So each part of these, they're like, the way I say is, you can look at it two ways. I guess that's me.
Not me.
The best way to do it is to look at it. Some people like looking at it as a chair with four, what's
Legs.
it called? Legs. I
Legs.
like looking at it as a car with four tires, right?
Wheels.
Wheels. So like, and you think about the axle that goes down the middle and with the four tires. And if one tire's flat, the whole car stops. But if one tire has, maybe it's out of alignment or it needs air, you could still drive the car, but it's not going to be in the optimal performance. Right?
True.
So you're looking at, like, your car has to be in balance. Same thing where you can have a stool with three legs, but to have a sturdy chair that can hold up the weight of your life, you need four legs. Fair? But I like the car analogy because the better your tires and alignment are, the better the performance of the vehicle.
The car, yeah.
That's
Cars,
why, like, for instance, my toughest one out of the four is physical, right? Which for a lot of people is easy for them because it's the one you can control the most. So I look like my mentor would say, you're like a Lamborghini that doesn't get driven enough, or one tire isn't good, and you're driving like a Ford, even though you got a Lamborghini, right? Because it's so important. If my body's not right, if I'm dealing with inflammation, or it it's holding me back, right? So it's good to have this assessment. Where would you say you're strongest out of the four?
right now, health,
Yeah, you're on point with your body, right? Which is a new one for you.
yes.
Okay.
Well, when I took the physical last month, the doctor said, never have you taken a physical where I can't tell you that something's wrong. He said everything, every single test is in range. So that was a huge accomplishment for me.
So you're good there. I'd say business. We're financially healthy, and,
Financial, I have no
right?
worries. We have
So
no
we're going to
worries.
jump into the three parts. That there's a three part in business: what you're producing, right, monthly. How you're protecting yourself through savings and stuff like that, and how much you're profiting. Right. We're going to talk about that. So beautiful. I'd say your mental health. You could probably go a little stir crazy there, right? A little bit.
Mental health is up and down with COVID. Um, I listened to a lot of news, and today they said the first doses of the Moderna and the Pfizer will cover all healthcare workers. So that should be done by the end of the year. And then beginning January, it's seeing how many more we could get. And then I do look very forward to taking the shot and getting out. I do.
So there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you. So your mental health is probably rising because there's something to look forward to for you.
I have a schedule I could hopefully live on.
Beautiful.
A freedom
Emotional
day.
health, relationship health.
It's great.
You're reaching out to your friends.
Mhm.
It's not just significant other. It's friends, family. Or you're having the conversations because people isolate
Yeah.
during this time,
And a lot
right?
of people are having a very hard time with mental and emotional health right now because of COVID. So
Beautiful.
call me if you are.
So physical, I'm actually feeling good because I'm doing something about it. I have momentum, but physical is definitely my lowest of the four. Mental health, it's up and down. But I'd say I'm stronger mentally than I've ever have been in my life. And I really know what I have to do. Emotional health is really good, although I do miss my friends a lot. I'm not seeing them as much, hardly at all. But my
I want to
family,
go to a party.
yeah, I mean, we need, like, we talked about this the other night when I was super frustrated about a lot of things, and it would have been a great night to have a date night with my wife and just be Dave and Angie, or I could really use a three-nighter in Sedona, just being Dave and Angie. I mean, but we do have, one of the best things to do is go away, get out of your environment, gives you perspective and that space you need for your brain to grow. There's all tons of proof around this, but these are some of this part of the game. We also have a newborn, Gianna. That's been one of the beautiful things. I wake up and she smiles in the morning and she laughs and she's starting to like make these noises, kind of like she's talking. That fills me up, right? So okay, and then financially, I feel like we're firing on all cylinders. Um,
We're
yeah,
very fortunate that the real estate business, and my empathy, sympathy goes out to everyone in those businesses hurting deeply because of COVID. But for all realtors and owners, it hasn't attacked us financially.
so realtors, right? A lot of realtors had great years. They did.
Yes.
But a lot of them, so it's kind of like this economy where the billionaires raise their income by multiple billions, and the small guys have gotten kind of pushed out a little bit. That's what I've seen with realtors. Like the people who have their systems in place and their teams in place and their lead generation in place, have excelled, right? Then the people who are like trying to survive have gotten beat up a little bit. There's been a bigger, I believe, gap
Yeah.
created in our industry. And that feeling of like, what do I do now? And this is by no means, well, I guess it is. We're not trying to really recruit here. We're at let's just say where we're at. We're at 476 agents, capping at 500. That's not mean we're going to have people leave, because that's the nature of the business. So there'll be opportunities for people to come in, but we're going to be raising the bar as we go. That being said, this is part of the game. So this is the time of the year that I'm having multiple conversations with our agents about what 2021 is going to look like. But in order to know what it's going to look like, we need to analyze 2020 and 2019 and 2018. This makes sense, Pop?
Yes.
And I mean, I know you in the past, you kind of just went for it. If you made 350,000 a year before, your goal was to make 400. Like, that's kind of the game you played. You just worked harder, not necessarily smarter,
Harder.
but you worked harder, and that served you for a long time. Nobody out hustled you, but you got to know where you're going. And we have this conversation in depth of, what do I want to do? And people come up with these arbitrary numbers. 6 figures, 12 deals, 20 deals.
Well, when you're doing business planning and they give you that sheet of paper, you feel like you want to spill it out, but yeah, they come out of your butt. The numbers aren't real, or
But what's interesting is I've talked to people who make $200,000, people make 150,000, people make 50, and they all have similarities. One person I was speaking to has nothing to show for making 200 grand. And it makes him feel like he did not have a good year. And that's a lack of a plan. So what we had to really come down with is, what would you, at December 16th, 2021, we fast forward to that today, what does it look like for you to have a success? Because, people talk about the why, their purpose, the reason why they do things. And that in itself is important, but they forget to really dig deep into the numbers. So it's easy for me to be like, I want to take, because they're all important. I want to take my family on a vacation. I want to pay down debt. I want to do this. I want to do that. But they don't do their numbers right, because they forget they have taxes and they got to put money away.
right.
So,
And our business is, you got 5 transactions in escrow, and money is coming, and you're working hard to close those 5 transactions. And then you get the 4th one closed and you go, uh-oh, I have nothing left, right? Now your pipeline has dried. And I think in realtor terms, right, not getting fancy, I think that goes to what you're saying. If you have a plan, that won't happen to you.
so we need to reverse engineer. So first thing is, what do you want? Right? So if you're like, I want to pay off $50,000 in debt. Okay. My bills are $7,000 a month, and I want another 20 for whatever. So now you got 84,000 in bills, 50,000 in debt, 134, and then another 25 in savings. You're at 160,000. Okay. Because you got clear on what you want. I mean,
159.
159. I teach just on what you want. What do you want? Who are you? What do you want? What are you willing to sacrifice to get it? That's a 2-hour class in itself. So we're going fast through, but you got to get clear on that. But when you're at 150,000, right? what you really need to make, that's clearing 150,000. You got to figure on at least another 25% on top of that because of taxes. And realtors are just piss poor at paying their taxes.
The worst.
They're the worst because they think they get all their paychecks. So some quick math, if you put 25% on top of 150,
37.5.
yeah, give or take. So let's say you got to make just $200,000, right? Now you got to go back and be like, you got to look in 2020, which may be an anomaly for you, in 2019, and you may go, okay, I made 120,000 in 2020, and I want to make 200,000 in 2021. Okay, how many deals did you do in 2020? Well, I did 12 deals. Well, great. You made 120,000 divided by 12 deals. Your average commission is 10 grand.
Okay.
Beautiful. So now you know, in order to hit 200,000, you have to do 20 deals.
Up your game. Up your game.
But in order to do 20 deals, you need to do 5 deals a quarter. Right? Which should not be that difficult, but
And you're just doing a business plan. That is the perfect business plan.
So in order to do 5 deals a quarter, you got to do about a little less than 2 deals a month. But to do 2 deals a month, you're going to have to do what? And that's when you got to get into your real deep plan. This is your leading indicators or lead generation. How many lead generation activities are you doing a week and tracking in order to get the 6 people that you're going to have to talk to in order to have 2 people go into escrow and then have another 2 next month and continue doing it? That's how you reverse engineer a plan. As simple as that. And then you come down to, like, personally, the number one way we teach it is what? It's a trick question.
Yeah. What?
What's the number one way to lead generate in real estate that we believe in at Urban Next?
Oh, Buffini.
Not Buffini. It's Buffini, Ninja, whatever you want to call it. It's relationship-based business.
Yeah, Buffini, relationship-based. That's what he
Buffini's
teaches.
not the only person to ever do relationship-based business.
No,
Ninja
that's
coaching,
true.
There's 50 different ways. We teach some Buffini.
Relationship-based is where we have created the company.
Yeah, people say, how did you hire 476 agents? I answer 1 agent at a time, which is the truth. We didn't
But all relationship-based, based on our relationships with agents in our past, present, and future.
So then you supplement. You supplement on farming, right? Which is
open houses.
Farming is direct mail, targeting on social media. You're basically saying, this is my niche, these are my places, boom. It's tough to be a Providence expert and the Green Valley expert at the same time, right? So
you could sell in both, but you're not going to be an expert in both.
So then we have that plan. But 80% of your business needs to be relationship-based because that is how you set yourself apart. So boom, 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 right? Then people are like, well, what about Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads? Yeah, great, totally fine.
Could be part of the repertoire.
Better only be less than 20% of your business.
Right.
The key is if you rely on them, that's when it gets scary. You could control your personal relationships. You can't control how Zillow and Realtor.com are going to change, or Google AdWords or Facebook marketing. All they got to do is change your algorithm this much, and you're screwed if it's more than 20% of your business. Okay, so we talked about that's our general plan, and we dig deep. Listen, guys, we're giving you a free plan, right, Pops? I mean,
you bet.
This is the conversations you should be having with your broker.
And to get this started, let's take December, and believe me, I don't begrudge anyone, but everyone is on holiday mode, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever, Kwanzaa. And if you think you're not working less, you're wrong. You are. And the interesting part is the top producers in the office, that have offices, they're working Christmas Eve. And then everyone looks at them and says, well, what are you doing? And they're doing exactly what you said, Dave. They're looking at their business plan, and January, February closings come from December work. So if you don't work, or you cut your work down in December and stop giving open houses and not mailing out and not grabbing Zillow or Realtor.com leads that you have, well, goodbye January and February.
Well, you skipped over the most important things. Phone calls, personal notes, drop-bys,
Of
gifts to
course.
your clients. You're not having as many appreciation parties and things like that, but taking care of your people first, right? That's number one. And the reality is that the people who are doing this is where I always find something interesting. The ones doing the most business are more concerned about their next deal than the people who aren't. They have been able to put themselves into scarcity and have leverage and hunger on themselves for whatever reason to continue on. Like, for instance, Angie and I are having conversations how many deals already she has in place for January.
Right.
This year's already done. That's the
Mhm.
reality. If you haven't done this already, we're creating momentum for next year.
There's
Because
a realtor, Dave, in Red Rock Country Club, and he's a new guy, and I'm not gonna say his name or company. And he's new. I know he's new. And I walk, as you know, and I see his name. And this guy is giving open houses, not his listings, because he's brand new, 5 days a week. Every day takes off two, I think like Monday or Tuesday. And it's in December. And he's looking for one great buyer. And he's in all different houses calling these listing agents saying, can I do an open house? I look at him when I walk by, and I look at his sign and I smile. And I say to myself, man, he's still going in December trying to create a business. So
give
he
me
gets
his
my
name.
utmost kudos and respect.
Why isn't he? We need to be calling him and tell him this is at the very least, let's congratulate him for doing it the right way. And at the second, let's offer an invitation now, if and when he ever wants to leave, or if he ever wants to, without saying whatever company he's at, it's a bad company, because I'm sure it's a
Right.
great company, but at least acknowledge him and say, you're the type of agent we want at our company.
Right. Well, and in the old days, I would have went in that open house because you know
Yep.
me, and I would have spoke to him and told him how I know Red Rock and I know the business. And we probably hired 3 or 4 agents that way that wanted to come to 100% company with great broker support. And now instead of giving a certain percent of that check, they're keeping it all. But what I'm saying is my respect for him is that he is doing the hard work at a hard time during the month. The governor did a lot of
Hold on, let's
restrict.
stop. You respect the hustle.
Right.
You
I
respect the
respect
grind,
the hustle. Yeah.
because he has every excuse in the world not to do the work,
Right.
and he's doing the work. People think, oh, when you stop at 500, you're only going to hire producers. No. Value number one, do the right thing. Value number two, do the work. You take care
Right.
of those two things, leveling up. Value number three just takes care of itself. But continue.
Right. And luckily enough, and I'm not preaching, but when we had no chance to get open houses because the governor put us wrongly on the list because it's a very safe, event, we got them. I'm on the chair of the legislative committee, and we got it. We got the right. Even this pause, we still have it. And here I am looking on MLS. We're lucky if 3% of the agents out there are doing open houses. And man, it's free, right? You're brand new, you don't have money, it's free. It's producing because all the stories we get from buyers. And I just hope that people would say to themselves, I'm going to go back to it
Yeah, but
because
open houses, here's the thing. I mean, I know, listen, open houses is part of the game. There's not a lot of inventory right now. It is what it is. There's some real weirdness around it. it's just part of the game.
It's part that you could do for free.
Yeah, but
And it's part, what I'm saying is of your business plan, it's part of it. Not a major part, but it's a part when you don't have money to produce those numbers you're talking about.
yeah, listen, relationship-based business is not that expensive in the beginning either. It's being a source and an expert. It's getting on the phone and talking to the people that you know, right?
Very
And it's
true.
not, it's about giving, right? The secret to living is giving. It's giving, it's giving just you. Take care of them, see how they are, check up on them, care, be a source, be a help without expecting anything in return. The irony is you get a ton in return, right? So it's about those things. It's about the fundamentals. The fundamentals always work. If you could take technology and make fundamentals even work even better, then great. You cannot lose the humanity when you use the technology, or you lose the game, right? So you're right. There's a great ROI on open houses. And at the very least, while you're in the open house, you can set up an office and do all the activities you need to
What you
do.
just said. Yeah, call all your clients, touch
Posting on
base,
social, spending money
writing
targeting on
cards.
social.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, calling your clients, writing your note cards, getting yourself set up, killing a bunch of birds with one stone, right? But also getting product knowledge. People don't understand, like, how do you get in the game? And I say all the time, you got to live in the MLS. You got to know your product inside and out. You got to be doing open house. You got to be going to new houses. You got to get to know all the new home specialists. You got to get in the game. You say it all the time, to be in it, to win it. And this is kind of part of our plan. You see how him and I are riffing back and forth. This is the conversation. And there's no wrong answers, because people say to me, well, I'm a Mike Ferry guy. It works. I'm personally not a cold calling guy. If I did Mike Ferry, I would do it a different way. But Mike has some great things. Well, I'm a Buffini guy. Well, that kind of worked good for me with relationship-based business. Oh, I'm a Zillow guy. Great. But if you're going to spend $10,000 a month on Zillow leads, you better nurture them and then keep them. And then you better become relational so that they stay with you and you get paid on that client 10 times in the future, because you've become not only their realtor, but their friend. And that's the beauty of real estate. This isn't even, I think about my wedding or any parties I've thrown. The people in my life, the majority of them have come through serving them in real estate, and they become my friends. That's when all the lines blur. I'm not even working anymore because I'm helping out my friends and I'm an expert. And so it's part of the game. So we've been talking about production, Pops. And I think the biggest issue for realtors is production. Do you agree?
Yes.
That most realtors know how to real estate. They just don't know how to make it rain. And he who makes it rain, he never goes hungry. Right?
It's feeding the crops.
It's the truth. So that's the production game. Then you started talking about the profit game a little bit. Whereas, how much money are you spending for the production? What's your return? Right? So the first part was the leading indicator. Some people call them KPIs. People call them all sorts of things, right? What activities are you doing to create business? The second part is, what's your return? What are you keeping? And then the third part's protection. What are you saving? Do you have your LLC set up? Do you have your accountant in place? Listen, you're an entrepreneur. You should not be doing taxes on your own. You're a 1099. You should have an LLC and you should have an accountant. And you should also have a trust and all this stuff. And that's the protection game. So those are the three big parts of the financial game. And this is the time to have the conversation around the whole entire thing, because most people don't do it enough.
I agree.
What are you doing over there? Are you freezing
just-
up, or are you just not talking?
No, I vegged out a minute. My brain went to what you were saying.
Well,
I
what's
was
going to happen
thinking on it.
what's going to happen on January 1st for most entrepreneurs, most realtors? What's going to happen on January 1st?
I'm gonna have a new year. What's gonna happen?
Are they, so they're going to do the same exact thing that they did the year before.
Well, let's hope they're not. Let's hope we're going to change up. A minor change could have a big effect.
And that is very true. That's called the 2 millimeter shift. Tony Robbins
Mhm.
calls it the 2 millimeter shift. And he uses it, an example of hitting a golf ball. How if you hit a golf ball, a 2 millimeter difference can determine whether it's inside of a house or if it's straight down the fairway. And big changes usually only require a little pivot, a little shift. So one of the biggest issues, I wrote down 4 problems in real estate. Okay. To me, the biggest issue, biggest problem in real estate is that agents feel like they're all alone.
True, and now it's even more so.
Right? Even before the pandemic, you have multiple companies out there that don't have physical addresses. They live in a completely virtual world, or you have like a 10-person company where the broker is busy doing their own business and there's not a lot of training, right? So the first thing is like, it's the loneliest business in the world. I'll never forget one of our agents, Stephanie. She said, I felt like I've been in this on my own for the longest time until I got with you guys. Now there's other companies out there that create great environments, but the first thing is you have to realize you are not alone. So whether you got to find a mastermind, a group, or a new brokerage, regardless of what it is, you need to find someone who is in it with you so you realize you are not alone. It's pain divided, success multiplied. You get the word culture has been played out so much, but it's so important. Don't you? I mean, aren't you in agreement on this?
Yeah, you froze a little bit. Yeah, I do. I find that if you communicate and you feel your part, realtors, we're individuals. We're an individual animal. But if you feel you're part of a company that teaches you and helps you understand what you're doing, it makes it a lot easier. It truly does. And what we're talking about now, if agents are listening, I hope they're saying in their brain that they're going to do the formula that you just did. The start of the meeting where you took my bills are X, my goal is X, this is X. That's the beginning of the plan that's going to create the plan of what you're going to do. But I will say one thing of how I describe it, because I say something to you when you refer it to the trainer, because you're a huge reader of trainers.
A huge
I
reader
think,
of trainers.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you read all the
I
trainers
read,
every
I go to seminars, I get coaching, I go
right,
all in. Yeah.
exactly. You're all in.
And then I coach other people. I go both ways with it.
Yeah.
The only thing I
Right.
go both ways with, but yeah.
Um, don't take your foot off the gas.
We're still talking, you're jumping. We're still talking about being alone. That's the
I
number one
know.
problem in real estate. Okay.
Well, that's part of being alone, because when there's no one telling you and teaching you and nudging you, you take your foot off the gas. And when you take your foot off the gas, all those goals, all that business planning, all that, everything you're talking about goes to hell.
Well, it's an accountability game, right? And it's the first level of accountability. It's just knowing like sometimes you need to see other people succeed and you need to see other people fail and you need to see other people's experiences to see like, all right, my experience is not unique. I see myself in everybody else, and watching them go through the highs and the lows of the real estate game, which is a game that's ever evolving and always changing, makes you start building confidence and you start feeling like, okay, I'm not alone. That's a big, big game. Whether whether it's you're having issues with your wife and you go to dinner with the other couple and you have an honest conversation about the issues and you're like, we have the same issue. It makes you feel less like, well, maybe it's not just me. Maybe everybody has this issue. Maybe everyone has problems losing weight. Maybe a lot of people, you know, this is when you have pain divided. And I think that is probably the thing we figured out number one when we started not just being realtors, but being managers and general managers, is how people just want to have someone to talk to and be heard. I mean, the majority of the questions a broker gets or an owner gets or a trainer gets are rhetorical. It's like, I have the answer, but I don't have the permission or the confidence to know that it is the right answer. And I just need somebody to be like, you're on the right path. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, I believe, is agents have no path. So we talked about that, right? So just talking about the financial path on what my goals are, but also how to get there. And it's not just how to make it rain, like we talked about. You got to know how to do real estate. The fundamentals of understanding how to do comps and the paperwork and negotiate and talk to clients, that is some heavy duty training that people are forced, agents are forced to figure it out on their own. Do you not agree?
I do, but I don't think that's the case in our company.
Of
Let's
course
just
it's not
take
the case in
comps,
our
right?
company.
I have the agent that, the agents come to me for comps. We go over how we did it. We explain what the price will be. And then they have a clear path of what they're gonna do on how to get the house price.
So if the problem is agents are alone in the business, the answer is, the possibility is you're surrounded by in a network. If the problem is agents have no education, training systems, etc., the possibility is support from the best leaders in the industry with systems and training, right? So for instance, here we have 4 paths. Beginner path, we have names for them. I'm not gonna, they're fun, like hustler and whatever, but we have beginner path, intermediate, advanced, expert path. Because the agent who doing 1 deal a year is figuring it out needs different, it's a different conversation. The agent who's doing 40 deals a year, getting ready to burnt out and doesn't know how to build a team to get themselves out of everything. So we have those 4 paths. Those are two issues. The third issue, I believe, is agents just don't make money. The average agent makes $38,000.
And that's up from the prior years.
Exactly. So are your company's goals for you aligned with your goals for yourself? And that's an interesting game. And that's one of the reasons why we did the 500. Our mission is to get every single agent in our company doing 12 deals a year, making $100,000. That's who we want to try. You don't have to be there yet, but you got to be willing to be the guy who's doing the open houses in the freezing cold in Red Rock, right? I don't care if you have another job. You can still be successful. You're proof of that. You were a fireman, right? I just told the story. I was in the Nest Challenge group on last Thursday, and I ended the day by, because we were talking about this actual topic. And I said, don't be discouraged. I told them your story of how in 1981, recently divorced, tons of debt, responsible for everything, and how you went from a fireman and a part-time realtor to a successful realtor and a successful business owner, and how you bought 3 houses and how you took second mortgages. A very inspirational story for people. But explain how you were a fireman and a realtor at the same time. You were a part-time agent, but you were a full-time realtor.
Well, so I worked 8 24-hour shifts a month at the firehouse. And the other time I did real estate. But when I knew, these were the days before cell phones, we had pagers. When I knew that I was in the firehouse, I took a partner that anytime she knew when I was leaving, she knew where I was. And I would say, call Stephanie, because I'm working, and you couldn't be in a fire and taking care of a client. So yes, I shared part of some of the commissions, not all, only in emergency, and created a successful real estate career, being a full-time fireman at the same time.
And you did it without all the resources people have. You had no cell phones, no emails, no social media. Imagine if you had social media, it would almost be like you're never a fireman, right? And you got to understand how firemen are. They work 24 hours because fires happen at any time of the day. So, right, you have to work the full 24, but then you'd get 3 days off, right? Is that how it worked?
Yep. Mhm.
Right. So that's also how he had me. So no excuses, single dad, right? So the 24 hours he worked, I was with my mom. Then the 3 days he would get off, I was with him, but he was still working. So guess who was at the real estate office too, right? So,
I always told him it was in his blood.
but so when you're talking about a problem and a possibility, you got to look at situations like that. I guarantee there's someone with more obstacles in your way having better success. And rather than be like, be inspired by that person, like I'm inspired by him. And then he got out of debt slowly but surely. And he was smart enough to do something that realtors don't do. Wait a minute, maybe I should buy houses, not just sell them and be a realtor, right? I mean, that was not an easy game. Like first it was just keeping food on the table and surviving. But then it was
Mhm.
like, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to buy a house, right? So there's no excuses there as well. Part of your goal to get to that $200,000 or 150 can be buying a house and getting rental income as well. Just because your clients are making money on buying houses, flipping houses, doesn't mean you can't either. So this is part of this comprehensive game that I don't believe everyone offers, that you really should be having a conversation, whether it was a coach, a new brokerage, or somebody who's performed a mastermind. These are conversations you need to have. Because if not, you're flying completely blind. And
And
unless you're a
it's funny,
unicorn,
Dave, in New York, we didn't have 100% companies. So I had to give like 25% of my money to the broker who gave me zero broker support. I self-trained myself. And when I came to Vegas, I went to a split company. And then I realized there was such a thing as 100% here in Vegas. And I was singing the Hallelujah Trail because now I could do, here's my brain. Oh, I could do 25% less work and make the same money. Well, that was a great theory, except no, I did more work and doubled my money because I was getting 100%. And that created me buying
well,
houses here.
100% is only part of the game, right? I mean, listen, there are some, you got to have both. Like, you got to be a five-tool player, okay? Stop ignoring me,
I hear you.
right? So when some companies are like 100% of nothing is nothing, and they're maybe they have a cap or a splits, they're right. Some of these companies are right. They're better than just going to a chop shop 100% company. Am I wrong? They're right.
Oh, you're right.
They're right. But if you could have both, and that's where I believe we are the unicorn. There are some other unicorns out there too. But when you could have great return on your money that you work hard for and be empowered as a realtor, and at the same time, the support and the training and the protection of a really strong company, then what are you waiting for, right? So you can have it all without a doubt, I believe. What?
I like having it all.
But you can. You
I
can.
like it.
But what's not going to happen is this: we're not going to be able to do the work for you. So you got to find that hunger and that reason and that why. The thing that he had was this insatiable desire to succeed because of the position you were in, right? So some could say that the divorce and tough things were the best thing that ever happened to you because it lit a fire, right?
It lit a bonfire.
And it burned really brightly for a long time. And that's why the conversation around mindset and finding leverage and finding that hunger, right? But you can't just be hungry all your life. Then you have to put the systems in place. Then you got to put the people in place. And you better make sure you have the purpose in place too, because if you're doing it just for the dollar, eventually that's going to go away too, right? You had purpose. It was partially me, right? So it's part of the game. And this is how you start putting it together. This is how you have next level training. Because if you don't have this, you better get a coach, or you better get a
Mhm.
trainer, or you better get a mentor. I'm not saying everyone in, because we only have 24 more spots, 500 aides. There's 15,000 realtors. Go find it somewhere, right? Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Because, and then even if you manage to put it together like he did, eventually you're going to have to find a company that you may grow out of your company because you have bigger goals and you're doing more than what your company's providing for you. So they better be evolving with you as well. And this is the time of year where you see a lot of agent movement. And they're looking for the unicorn. And I think you and I have, when we used to have these conversations, George and Jennifer have it, we do say, listen, you are going to be positioned probably better than you've ever been positioned to be successful by being with us. But your success is determined by one person.
You.
And that's you. And even when our agents are super successful, we don't take credit. We definitely provided an environment and we provided guidance and we put them in the best chance to succeed. But at the end of the day, they did the work, not us.
And the typical answer, and I'm not knocking, don't be offended, anyone, when I say this. Oh, I'm going to go to another real estate company because they're promising me leads. No,
You know,
no.
I've gone to love that though, because I used to try to save them. Me and you would save them. And now we just lead them, right? And sometimes people have to figure it out the hard way. That the worst thing someone could do for you is just hand you the fish. That's the worst thing. They got to teach you how to fish and then you got to figure it out. I remember growing up, I've said this to my kids a million times. Can you do this for me, Daddy? And I'll say, figure it out. Well, I don't know how. Figure it out. You know how many times you told me to figure it out? Because you didn't have the time, you know what I mean? Like, just figure it out. And there's a level of, like, if I can name our company in just 2 words, it's tough love. We're going to love you harder than any other company, but we're also going to hold you to the highest standard too.
That
Right?
comes, from being raised by me. That what you just said comes from what we give. You want to be loved and the highest degree. I tried to be the best father in the world, but I also had a very high accountability that I wanted you to be back to me.
It was the greatest gift, because if I could love you while I'm holding your feet to the fire, that's the key. And I think that's the best way to do it,
I
especially.
didn't think so when you were young, when I made you go
Oh,
to
it sucks. It sucks. But even some of my coaches I clashed with the most, I grew the most. Right? Iron sharpens iron. Pain is required for growth. It's going to get uncomfortable. We talk about the J curve. We talk about getting from here to here. It's never this straight vertical line. You got to break shit first. You got to have the break down in order to have the breakthrough. So improve the level of your conversation in your business. Find someone to have that conversation with. Now is a great time. It's a renewal and a rebirth when the calendar turns over. But just wanting to change isn't enough. You got to do something in order to get that. Because you can get all revved up. You may get inspired by this conversation. But if you do nothing,
Yeah, it's done.
it's a waste.
And a lot of people here, and thank you for it. You talk about Dave and I relationship and how special it is, but it is. But let me tell you, we've had rip roaring discussions. I'll call them discussions. And we don't like powder each other's nose and say, oh, you're great. No, you're great. We go at it. We fight on it. We learn and grow from it. But if you're not willing to have that and then hug the person after it's over, you're never going to grow in your business. You'll never grow. The hard conversations have to come. They have to come out.
Well, it's like the old Italian way. Like we could attack each other, but if someone tries to attack us, we kill them, right? I mean,
Well, we
you
have
know,
it for Urban Nest
I
too.
could talk bad about you to you, but you can't
No.
talk bad about him, right? I mean,
It's funny, one of our new agents is having great successes. And he said, everyone's been congratulating him for the year. And he said, well, and I said, congrats. And he said, Dave, it's the Italian way. My father said, if you're ever going to work well, work for an Italian, which is just a joke. It's great. But we have a different culture that he totally understood. And I laughed at it. I'm not saying you have to be Italian, but any connection that brings success in your business is a win-win. So Dave used to laugh at me because he'd watch me sell, and I'd be a civil servant because I was a firefighter. I'd be an Italian. I'd be a New Yorker. I would be a husband, a wife, a dad, a mom to my clients to get it done. Doesn't mean I'm a chameleon. No, it meant that I knew how to relate to whatever issue that seller or buyer was having to make a successful transaction.
and it's just having it's. I talk about this a lot. It's giving yourself the permission to be vulnerable inside of your truth. And that is very difficult for a lot of people because it's easy just to be agreeable. It's difficult to tell somebody what they need to hear. Maybe it shouldn't be unsolicited, but if people ask you, you need to tell them the truth. A true friend is going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. That's a true friend who's willing to like risk the collision, risk the uncomfortability in order to have a real conversation. And you're not truly real, there's not a real relationship unless you're willing to collide and survive. Because then it's just a fake relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the real relationships, you can get pissed off each other. Him and I, he's saying it nice. We could be two bulls. Like, like literally, I want to physically fucking kill him. Like, kill
Not
him.
me. I'm so easy.
Right. He just shows you the nice Dave. The one he shows me is not fun. But in the beginning of Urban Nest, poor Bernadette and Danny, I mean, I would almost break the table, storm out. I mean, and then we'd go to lunch together and they'd be like, what? How are you going to lunch together after you just got in a fight? Because we were over it. Like, because our relationship was so strong, it was able to handle the capacity of that serious conversation.
And the serious conversation, even if it got loud, always meant, always ended up with a better broker, a better partner in the business, and more for the agents. It always came out with a positive ending. So if you're not willing to have real conversations with your broker, your partner, whoever it is, your wife, your husband, and goals of what you're going to do, you'll never succeed either. So have those real conversations. Do your budget.
The number one real conversation you have to start with though is you. You got to have that
Yeah, with
assessment
yourself.
has to be the truth.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of agents out there going, oh man, what Dave and Dave is saying, taking your foot off the gas, not planning, not this, not that is what I have to do. So you don't say it in a negative way. You say it in a way where it's empowering them to start it up again.
Yeah.
Wow, let's get this going again.
I mean, the beauty is you've got yourself in this situation. You're your biggest obstacle, but you're also your biggest um, solution, right? So that's where we come in to here's the mirror. This is what you truly are. And here's how we're going to improve it. Here's your plan. I know you can do it. I've seen you do it. I know what you're capable of. I'm going to be rooting for you. I'm going to be holding you accountable. I'm here. I'm not going to give you a kick in the ass unless you ask for it.
Did you
Because
notice that, Dave, now that you turned 43, you're having a problem remembering your words? Is that the sign of beginning of old age or
no, I was in the zone. I was in the zone. So my thoughts were faster than my mouth, my
Oh,
that I
okay,
get out.
okay. I
Plus, I
figured
was
I'd do it.
looking at a a post where Suzette was like, "Are we on Facebook?" Like she would even debate about us being this honest. And that's the other thing. You know how beautiful and it is, how freeing it is to be able to have this real conversation without holding anything back. We don't have to pretend to be something other than what we are. And we're in super alignment with who we are and our values. And our company is a reflection of who we are. When our company is not a reflection of who we are, that's when you're out of alignment and your values are basically punching you in the face going, get back in alignment now. It's that client who wants you to work for 3 times less, but do 3 times the amount of work. And you don't give yourself the permission to move on because they're not serving you and you're not serving them, right? But being in alignment with your values and knowing what you're worth, real estate is so much more than just opening doors and putting something online or on MLS. You have to go deep. So, I
It's
never
funny
use
when
the
you
F
say
word.
that, Dave, because 2 new agents said to me, wow, I thought I would open a door, write a contract, and I make money. And now I realize real estate is hard work. And I said, that's a good first step to understand what your job is.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean, it's hard. And Suzette said I'd never use the F word. Listen, I've gone back and forth with this. He yells at me all the time. It's part of who I am. And studies have shown people who curse
yeah.
are more intelligent and more honest.
But Facebook has an opportunity to take the post down if you
Only,
do.
only if I was only, only,
Only.
only if I was boosting it, then it would have a problem and I'd
And
have
now
to
it
do
froze.
what?
It froze. Only if you were what?
Boosting it,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
advertising it. Then they would put the
Mm.
kabuts on me and off we go. Yeah, I try not to curse too much, but it's part
Well,
of
Davy
flavor.
froze on my screen.
Oh, am I live now?
You know what? It may be me because it just said my internet connection is unstable. So it
Oh,
could be
yeah,
me.
this is pretty much the microcosm of our relationship. You telling me that I'm freezing and it's you. It's you. Look at those teeth. Look at those teeth.
Ah.
All right, well, that's a great way to wrap it up. So basically, here's the thing, guys. You know what you're going to bring into 2021? You. Everyone going, it's so 2020. Well, guess what? Politics are not going to change on January 1. The coronavirus is still going to be here on January 1. You're still going to weigh the same amount of pounds on January 1. And your success in 2020 or your failures are going to be the same on January 1. You got to change your mindset. And as my favorite quote, I have so many, but this could be, if I was ever going to get a tattoo, this would potentially be.
Dad, I love you across your forehead.
It would be from one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption, and it's get busy living, get busy dying. Because that's what you got to do. There is no stagnant. Stagnant is decay. You're either growing or you're dying. Done. So we do invite you, if you have, this is our requirements, not the amount of deals you do. We have 3 values, 3 requirements. What are they? Oh, you taking off your shirt? What are you
Oh,
doing?
you could tell. Oh,
Are
I'm
you done
sorry.
with the video that much?
I was getting ready. You talk about obsession. I was ready to put my sweatshirt on because I'm a little
Boom, boom, boom.
obsessed with my walking. So
Way
go
to
ahead.
take away the thunder of our 3 values. Tell them the values.
Do the right thing. Go ahead.
I set you up with these softballs and you just let them. Here's the thing. Do the right thing. You got to have integrity. You got to put the people first before the profit. The
Do the
care.
hard work.
Number 1, do the right thing. Number 2, do the work. You got to be hungry. You got to be the guy out there calling your people, trying everything. You got to be a hustler. Do the work. And number 3, you got to have this desire to grow. You got to level up. If you're with us for a year and you're not you have not grown, then either you did something wrong or we did something wrong. Same thing with the people who work for us, not just our agents, our staff. If they're not growing, we did something wrong or they're doing something wrong. And then the most important thing, who we are more than anything, is that we guarantee, regardless of your success, regardless if you stay in real estate and crush it or you get out of real estate, being around us, we are committed to leaving you better than we found you, no matter what. So that's what we got for you. Anything? Or I just crushed it? I crushed it.
You
There's nothing
crushed
else
it.
to say.
Get
right?
get out and walk like me.
I'll give you a visual. Just picture that 68.5-year-old body that he's going to take off that shirt. Good luck. Ugh. All right. I got hair in my mouth from here. Take care. Bye.